Ongoing high inflation, a strained economy, and the fact that 10,000 baby boomers turn 65 every single day means double trouble for two important retirement programs, Social Security and Medicare. That's why it's so important to act right now on your strategy for protecting your income and your future in retirement. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. I want to start off by giving you the phone number so you can reach out to Andrew and his team if you have any questions about what we discussed today. 800-848-8768. Andrew and his team are offering you a discovery visit that is complimentary. They have offices in Pensacola and Daphne, Alabama, and they're so excited to be helping you with your retirement. Check them out yourself. Andrew, hello to you.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. We have a really important topic to talk about today.
Yeah, we actually do, because it was, 1965, the summer of 1965, that President Lyndon B. Johnson signed Medicare into life. And that was 57 years ago, if you look back. So here is what he had to say about that. I want to play this for you, Andrew.
No longer will young families see their own incomes and their own hopes eaten away simply because they're carrying out their deep moral obligations to their parents and to their uncles and their aunts.
So, yeah, the latest trustees report projects that the Medicare's hospital insurance trust fund could be depleted now in 2028, just about 60 years later.
Wow. It didn't take too long to deplete that, did it?
Yeah, it didn't even make it 100 years. So Medicare system is strained. Of course, we know Medicare does not cover all of healthcare costs in retirement. So tell us how you talk to people about options for healthcare costs that Medicare does not cover, Andrew.
Yes, and when you hear news like that, it's so shocking. We've been kicking the can into the future about dealing with Social Security and Medicare. And finally, the future's here. It's on our doorstep, and this is a separate account, the Medicare system, from the Social Security fund, which is already having its own insolvency issues. So I think it's really important for retirees to do their homework on the ABCs of Medicare, and that's why it matters so much. You don't always just want to settle for the low-cost option or the no-cost option. Because depending on your medical situation, it may be where you could be left with some hefty medical bills in retirement when you're no longer working. So it's really important to take an interest in Medicare, not only for the solvency reasons, but also for your benefits while you enter into retirement.
And what I know is very helpful is you help people with this. You help people, guide them on some decisions. When the time comes, when they're about 65, they're going to get hit with all this stuff in the mail. I know, because that happened to my sister. But I love that you come alongside and can kind of guide people and show them what they need to do. So everybody wants to know, have I saved enough to cover my living expenses in retirement? I want to maintain my same lifestyle once I retire. Then I have these medical costs I need to at least prepare for, though I don't know what they might be. And then I have this bucket list I want to do in retirement. How do we know we're going to be covered for all of those things?
Sure. For many of our clients, they have plenty of pensions and Social Security and VA disability and military retirement, and they have assets. But they're really looking for is really assurance that they can retire. They want a permission slip to know that they can spend more. And you don't just want to survive in retirement. You want to thrive in retirement. You don't want to just skimp all your way through retirement with your spouse and have them rolling their eyes in response to you when you say, we can't afford that. No, what we want is to be able to spend that extra $1,000 or $2,000 and have that validation that we're not going to run out. And the only way I know how to do that is with a retirement income plan, not just settling for investments in a portfolio. We need to have a written down financial plan that says this is the buckets where our income is going to come from over the next 15 years or 20 years of our retirement.
I love that. And so I wrote that down, have that validation. And that is honestly what you do. Name of our show, What Your Money Would Say. And you tell our listeners, here's what your money says about you in retirement. And today, of course, you have a very special offer for listeners to come in and visit with you complimentary.
Exactly. I mean, that's the whole point of a sleep study is we give families a retirement ready report card. And this is not the report card that you hide from your parents and grab and run to the mailbox before they come home. I mean, this is a report card that matters for you and your spouse to give you that permission slip to spend as much money as you need to fill out all of those bucket list items that you have for your retirement. And so one of the areas in that sleep study is an income plan. And so when we sit down with families, oftentimes many do not have an income plan. We show them how they can build it themselves, or they can hire a professional like us to help them build an income plan. We're also going to look at on that report card tax planning, estate planning, liability. We're going to look at risk management. We're going to look at all those different areas to make sure that families have straight A's going into retirement. And if you're thinking, that's me, Andrew, I'm 2 years into retirement or I'm 5 years out and I want to make sure that me and my spouse are ready, well, give us a call at 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768.
And then also check them out yourself on their website. They have an awesome website. It's swan-capital.com. You can find out some great information there, more about Andrew, more about his awesome team and how they help retirees just like you. They want to help you put a plan together. And you've got to have a plan. You know, you go on a vacation, you have your GPS. Well, same thing with retirement. You've got so much to plan for, and they can come alongside and be your guide. And I also want to mention they have offices in Pensacola and Daphne, Alabama. So they are local and here to guide you. And you mentioned it already, Andrew, Social Security's trust fund. Projected to be depleted by 2023. Sorry, by not next year, 2035.
Not that soon.
Not that soon. But tell us what that means for people who have not started taking their benefits yet.
Sure. I know everyone is telling you to take Social Security early because you need to drain it before it goes broke. And I'm telling you that you don't have to listen to those fearmongers. If you're 5 years out from retirement, based on history, we know that if families are looking at that Social Security decision, they oftentimes have opportunities to grandfather themselves in before any major change to Social Security happens. So if there is a major change in Social Security, we're staying up to date with these law changes. So we will tell a client, you need to get grandfathered in. You need to apply for Social Security now. Well, otherwise, until they make that announcement, Social Security for you is the way it is right now. Nothing has been changed. Now, can I make that promise to future generations like Gen X, Gen Z, or millennials? No, I can't. Maybe Social Security will change for those families. But right now, if you're 5 years out from retirement, most likely it will be the same. And here's why I'm so confident. And this is why I'm going to encourage you not to listen to those people that sell news for a living, is when it comes to Social Security, they have the power to tax us more. All they have to do is raise FICA tax by 1%, and that potentially puts it out to $2,100 by just increasing it by 1%. And there's other things that they can do. They can increase retirement age. Instead of being 62, 67, and 70, it might be 65, 67, and 72. They can change things before they make radical changes of Social Security. So I would take great solace in that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're going to make those changes, but they are kicking it down the road, you know? They're waiting until the last minute, that's for sure. So, all right, we have inflation happening right now, and thanks to inflation, there are some projections that Social Security recipients are going to get about, maybe 10.8% cost of living adjustment on their monthly checks. So that's a good thing, unless they do something and increase Medicare like they did the last time.
Right, and we talked about this last year. I told everyone on this show last year, don't celebrate because of that large increase in Social Security. It's the canary in the coal mine. If Social Security is having large increases in their cost of living adjustment, that means that they're admitting that inflation is a problem. So if you have money that's earning 2% or less and Social Security is increasing by 10%, why are you taking Social Security early if you have $100,000 or $200,000 in cash equivalents that are only earning 2% when at least Social Security has large increases with cost of living adjustments, maybe not keeping up completely with inflation, but if, again, your Social Security payments are going up 6 to 10% and your money's only earning 2%, I'm telling you that this is why Social Security planning is so important for families.
Okay, so I want to talk about that then, because, yeah, since you aren't earning very much on your retirement assets, then what are some other ways to generate income in retirement?
I mean, that's a good point. We just listened to Lyndon Johnson, but FDR said that Social Security was never meant to be the entree to your retirement. It was only meant to be a supplement, an appetizer to your retirement. You need to have a pension, or at least a self-funded pension, one that's made up of guaranteed income to help be the entree to your retirement. You also need to work with a professional so they can build out a diversified income plan for you. What does that mean? Don't settle for just bond interest for your retirement or CD interest for your retirement. You need to have investment income that comes from things like preferred shares, private equity, rental income, owner financing, or mortgages, royalties, dividend income from international companies and domestic companies. You need to have interest income from your investments. We need a more diversified basket of incomes for the future, especially when we don't know what lies ahead. So don't settle for just bond interest in a few individual dividend-paying companies for your retirement. You need to have a basket of income-producing assets.
Would you say overall the retirees that you're seeing now, like my generation, baby boomers, maybe aren't diversified enough as far as what they have for income in retirement?
No, I think we've been told that we will be fine if we can just accrue this nest egg of stocks and bonds. And the reality is when the stocks are going down, like they have been in 2022, and then the bond market is going down in 2022, where do you turn? You only have negatives, and people were told that bonds are safe. No, bonds are just safer than stocks. They can and will lose money at times, especially in an interest environment that's going to go up and up and up.
So I think the biggest question for so many people is, how much do I need to save to retire? And then you have to factor in things like inflation and volatility, higher taxes down the road, and then concerns about retirement programs like Social Security and Medicare. It just makes it such a difficult question to figure out.
After working so many years, saving what you can while taking care of your family and your bills, it's a stressful time for you as you're trying to see if you've saved enough for retirement. If you can actually afford to retire in style. And so that's what I can help you find those answers to your questions, to make sure that you have created a spending plan to figure out how much money you'll need for retirement. The one that you've been dreaming of, not just, again, skimping in retirement, but thriving in retirement. Number 2, uncovering the main risks that pose a real threat to your retirement, such as inflation and stock market volatility and potential tax increases, but also learn about those ways to generate more income in a more diversified fashion. That's why we offer our complimentary sleep study. And there's no obligation, but it's just for listeners of today's show, where we will sit down with you for 1 hour to make sure that you have an income plan that's ready for retirement, to last you to and through retirement. So give us a call at 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768.
We all have to-do lists, whether it's at work or around the house or whatever. Does Natasha have a bunch of honeydews for you to do in your house?
She does. Since the house we just moved in is still plenty of things to still get done.
I know. Isn't that funny? My kids, my daughter just moved in. My son just moved into his new place. So they're all, doing a bunch of things on the house. So,
Well, even in a brand new house, there's always things to be done.
Think about that. Yeah, just last minute things still not solved. But here's the deal. The problem with long lists, if you look at your long list, you kind of go, ugh. And you just procrastinate. You don't want to do it all. So what I want to do today, Andrew, if you don't mind, is I want to put together, I want you to name 3 topics that are really, really important to put on your retirement planning list.
Well, it's at the bottom of most retirement contractors' lists. And that is estate planning, healthcare / long-term care planning that needs to be done to avoid any curveballs and financial curveballs that could derail your plan. And lastly is taxes. There's tax planning that needs to be done in coordination with the CPA to make sure that you have a net income in retirement, not just gross income in retirement.
Awesome. Okay, so tell us then why. Why should these topics be included when we are planning for retirement? Because, and especially excluded, right? You don't want to exclude any of these.
Right. I mean, these are the financial curveballs we don't see coming at sometimes, just like disability or unexpected passing of a loved one. And lastly, tax rate increases. You know, we can think about growing our money if we're just solely focused on the investment management, and then we lift up our head and now tax rates have actually eroded all of our work because, you know, just because you grow your money doesn't mean you outgrow the tax problem. The tax problem just gets bigger. And so if we never keep our head looking up from time to time, we'll miss estate planning, healthcare planning, and tax planning, and that can really derail someone's retirement. So it's one of those things that, just like it should be on a contractor's checklist, that it's never forgotten, never not crossed off.
So many people think about retirement and just feel overwhelmed. Maybe they're just concerned they haven't done enough to prepare for it yet, and they're getting really close to retirement. If someone's feeling that way, what can they do?
Like a mentor once said to me, what's easy to do is also easy not to do. And that's why we've eliminated even the barrier of traveling to another estate planning attorney's office. We have multiple estate planning attorneys that we work with, but we have Scott Malik in our office to meet with clients, to look over their existing legal documents to make sure that it integrates with their financial plan. And if families don't have their legal documents, maybe they've been procrastinating and they say, you know what, I need to make sure I have legal documents. He'll tell you what documents you need. And by him reviewing those legal documents and him telling you what documents are needed and available to you, that complimentary consultation that he offers for our clients are invaluable. And so if you have no documents at all, Scott Malik in our office is available to meet with you to determine what documents you need. So it's easy to get your documents done, but it's also easy to procrastinate too. So that's why, back to my mentor, I hope you do what's easy to do.
So how do we know what document we definitely need?
Well, the only way I know is a sit down with Scott Malik. He takes about at least 30 minutes to an hour to go through his, what he likes to call his probate preparation test. He's going to ask you, how's your home titled? Is it owned only in your name solely? Is it owned jointly by you and your spouse? And he'll share with you how that's a probatable asset. And you don't want that to go through probate if it's owned jointly in your name. Between you and your spouse. He's also going to look at, how do you title your bank accounts? Are you putting your children on your bank accounts? You're sharing liability with them. He's going to make sure that you have the basic legal documents like a power of attorney, a living will, a last will. And then he's going to check to see if you're eligible for VA benefits. These are just a few things on his probate preparation test that you'll want to go through and that we take all of our clients through.
Okay, so tell us what you are offering to our listeners today. Somebody who hasn't even come in yet.
So to schedule that complimentary visit with Scott, all you have to do is call 1-800-848-8768. And Scott will again spend an hour with you complimentary to go through what legal documents you do have to make sure if there's updates that are needed. He'll tell you if you've moved here from a different state. He'll tell you if you need to redo your documents. I just was in the same meeting with him when he looked through someone's documents from Georgia, and he said, whoever told you had to redo all of these legal documents, unfortunately they're mistaken. These documents are just fine how they are. And again, that cost that family nothing, but it saved them literally thousands of dollars. So give us a call at 1-800-848-8768.
And that website too, because there's some great information there. So I got to ask you this then. Tell us about our options for avoiding probate on our home, because that seems to be a biggie.
Yeah, and I mentioned that just earlier, is if you own your home in your name or you and your spouse own it in your names jointly, the issue is when there's no more spouses. You may have children, and that's the whole point of probate, is to make sure that the rightful heir gets their rightful share. And sadly, families find that their second home, their first home is going through probate after they're passing away, and that's news to them because they've never been told that. And that's where Scott Malik can sit down with you and your family and talk to you about a life estate and how that's basically adding a beneficiary to your home that's much needed. And he can also talk to you about the tool of a trust, a revocable living trust, for example, that may help you minimize probate on your home and all your other assets. And he can tell you what's the pros and cons of each to make sure that you have the right legal document for your situation. Now, as we talked about before, everyone needs the basics. You and your spouse should have a living will that takes care of end-of-life decisions. You should have a last will and testament so that when you're both gone, you know where your assets are supposed to go. But you also should both have a power of attorney, both medical and financial, to make sure that if there's a disability among the two of you, that it can be handled and decided based on a third party that you trust.
So is there, okay, I like that. Great information there. Is there anything else, though, we need to do to prepare for probate?
Absolutely. I think that it's essential to make sure that you have all of your beneficiaries on all of your bank accounts. So many times people open an account with a credit union or in a bank, and they haven't asked anything about those account details since they opened it 20 years ago. Okay. And always remember that the highest law in the land is a beneficiary designation. What does that mean? The highest law of the land means that if you have one child when you, in the 1980s, when you opened up your credit union account, and then you have two more children, but the will says it goes to all three, so sorry, that one first child is getting everything in that bank account because the beneficiary is going to take precedence.
You know, that is so funny because my husband not long ago said, "Hey, Luann, we need to go to the bank. I need to put you on all these accounts." Because he was just on them when, we were younger, and he's like,
sure,
he's afraid I was going to get into those accounts and spend that money or something. I don't know. But I guess,
we've been married for 20, 30 years. It's about time I put you on my accounts.
I'm like, are you kidding? Something could have happened to you, and I would have never been able to access this. So anyway, We got that taken care of.
That's fabulous.
Oh, my gosh.
But it can happen to any of us. And so that's why we have that probate preparation test. And that's why you and your family should take us up on that. Because Scott Malik will spend 1 hour complimentary, and he'll sit down with you. He'll review whatever legal documents you already have. Then he'll put those aside, and he'll say, hey, you need to look at the benefits of a life estate and a trust. And before you ever, pay Scott, he'll be up front. He'll say, I charge flat fees to do a life estate or to do a trust. It costs X. And if you say, that's what we need, Scott, then you can enter into an agreement with him and pay him to do those services. And what's nice is we have that all under one roof. And that was the whole point of Total Wealth Management, is that I didn't want families having to go to a CPA and then go into an estate planning attorney and then go into a financial advisor. I wanted it all under one roof. Why? Because there's synergy under one roof. That way that, the financial planning and the tax planning and the estate planning are working in synergy together, like a symphony, like not just one instrument operating and not in collaboration with others. So give us a call at 1-800-848-8768.
So, Andrew, tell us what happens when somebody calls this number, the steps that they're going to go through, and then what that first office visit is like.
Sure. So when you call, we'll be hanging out with our family because you're probably listening to this on the weekend, of course. And so when you actually call us on, you could call us this weekend and leave a voicemail. I hope you do. On Monday, someone like Livia, who's our director of first impressions, her whole job is to make sure that you have a great first impression. So she's going to call you and find a time that works best for you, me, and Scott's schedule over the next few weeks. And we'll sit down and we're going to send you a 2-page questionnaire so that we can have a basic confidential x-ray so that when we sit down with you, we can answer for 1 hour all the questions that you can muster, both financially as well as estate planning wise. And then after we got all your questions answered, we're going to give you our outlook and our insights into what we found by looking over your questionnaire. And it's great feedback that we've heard from families. Sometimes families said, Andrew, I'm a do-it-yourselfer. This has been enlightening, and I'm going to try to figure this out myself. And we wish those people good luck. But then some people say, Andrew, I need to either tell my financial advisor how to do their job, or I need to hire you to fix these things that you've found. So again, don't go another year with things that need to be fixed, especially if you're 5 years out from retirement. So again, give us a call at 1-800-848-8768.
Just because you have a healthy balance in your retirement savings account, so many of us feel, that's my retirement, but it's not an income plan. You still have some work to do. So, Andrew, why don't you tell us some of the risks that we need to be aware of to help preserve our income in retirement?
One of them is estate planning. The other is health care / long-term care planning. That's a curveball that even with a great income plan can derail that income plan. And then third is taxes, because you don't spend gross in retirement. You spend net income in retirement. And so we want the most net as much as possible.
So, healthcare costs. You and I have talked about this for years, and Fidelity estimates that a 65-year-old couple is going to spend a certain amount. It has gone up now. Now it's $315,000 after taxes throughout retirement, and it does not include long-term care. So, explain again what we need to do to prepare for this, please.
Well, what we don't want to do is just put our head in the sand and say, I think my kids are going to take care of me. Hopefully they do. But, I think they should, right? I mean, we took care of them for 18 years. The least they could do is take care of me for 4 or 6, But again, we don't want to be a burden on our kids if we don't have to. And we don't want to have to rely on them. They can't be a plan A. They should be a plan C or D. We should have other plans in place. And that's where long-term care planning is. And a lot of times people think long-term care is something you buy. No, long-term care planning is something you do. Now, sometimes it means that you do buy long-term care, and we can talk about the difference between hybrid long-term care insurance as well as traditional long-term care insurance, but it's something that you do, and that's how you get prepared for it.
So I want to bring up here that you moved in. You were just like in your early 20s when you moved in and lived with your grandfather, who was in his 90s, right? 2 bachelors. Yes. Living together. And I love that story. So touch on that for just a second.
Absolutely. After my grandmother fell ill, my grandmother passed away, leaving my grandfather alone. And he had been married for, over 60 years. So at this point, he never lived alone. And so I was the last bachelor in the family. So my mother sent me there. And little did I know, I thought I was there to help him and give him company. But I think, the truth is he was there to help me, give me company and give me wisdom that I really needed at that chapter of my life. But it really gave me a first-hand just visualization and perspective of what someone goes through when they're in their 90s and 80s, and you start to get to a point where you can't do everything that you once could. My grandfather would start to climb a ladder in his 90s, and I'm like, hey, Papa, you can't climb ladders in your 90s. Yeah. And what's sad is no one had ever told my grandfather about veterans benefits that he was eligible for. So my grandfather, because he was a planner, not a financial planner, but he was a planner in life. Like, he didn't just rely on his kids to figure it out. He went ahead and bought long-term care insurance and paid into it for 20 years. And sadly, him and both my grandmother went on to pass away less than 90 days into that elimination period for the long-term care insurance. And so $100,000 went down the drain. And what really frustrated me is that there was a VA benefit called Veteran Aid and Attendance all along that paid up to $2,400 a month, tax-free for a veteran and spouse, and $1,200 for a widow of a veteran. So here's my grandfather, Navy retired after serving 20 years through 3 wars, World War II, Korea War, and the Vietnam War. No one had ever told him that as long as he served 90 days active service with at least 1 day during a wartime period, that he'd be eligible for this benefit. That's why I hooked up with Scott Malik a long time ago, who's a VA accredited estate planning attorney who's in our office, so that when families have served and they've served 90 days active service with at least one day during a wartime period. We tell them how to get all their ducks in a row, how they need to have their DD-214 and their marriage certificate, and they need to make sure that their assets are positioned in a way so that they can receive $2,400 a month on top of their Social Security, on top of their pension. That really goes a long way in paying for that assisted living, that nursing home, or that caregiver. If you've never heard about veteran aid and attendance before, this is your opportunity to learn more. Scott will sit down with you for 1 hour to explain to you how veteran aid and attendance works for your aunt, for your mother, for your spouse, to make sure that you and your family are not spending down your assets like I saw my grandparents do. So give us a call at 1-800-848-8768.
This is what they do. They work with clients just like you. They treat clients just like family, like Andrew's grandfather. They're going to look out for you and make sure that you are making the right decisions and get the most of any benefits that are out there available, things like that. So, Andrew's offering a chance for you to come in and meet with him and his team. He's local here. He grew up in Pensacola. He and his wife, Natasha, are building a life here. Andrew's going to be around for a long time. All right, and now I want to get into how often people overlook taxes when they're planning for retirement, because I think you've said they don't think about it really.
You're right.
Know?
I mean, we think about it at least one time a year, and that's April 15th, and time to do our taxes. And that's one of the reasons why I started SWAN Capital. It was our goal to help families sleep well at night. And how can they sleep well at night if they have an estate planning attorney across town? Then they have to drive across town to meet with a financial advisor. Then they have to go down and meet with their CPA. And their financial advisor has never asked to see a copy of their tax return.
Goodness
so many
sakes.
times I ask families, have you seen a copy of their tax return? And they say, well, my financial advisor's never asked to see a copy of my tax return. Well, how can we do this synergistic tax planning unless we start there by having conversations with our client CPAs and looking at their tax returns, so that we make sure that as we see increased taxation in the future, because that's coming down the pipe. In 2025, we're going back to the 2015 tax rates. We need to start putting that plan together with the client CPA to make sure that they stay ahead of these risks of increased taxes.
So you mentioned that so many people go into retirement only thinking about taxes once a year, right? So I want you to maybe go a little bit more on the difference between tax preparation and having a tax-efficient strategy for your income so you can keep more money in your own pockets.
Well, here's a perfect way to describe it. Imagine that you try to drive from here to Mobile or here to Pensacola by just looking through your rear view. So that isn't going to work. You can't drive from one town to one town by just looking through your rear view. And that's what happens when we do tax preparation. When we only talk about what happened last year, we're only looking in the rear view. We're only talking about what has already happened. So what we want to do is start thinking about tax planning by looking through the windshield ahead and say, where are tax rates potentially heading? Where are our assets positioned? Are they already tax-free? Are they taxable? Have they never been taxed? Are they just sitting in an IRA and 401k never being taxed? Are we procrastinating and potentially going to pay more taxes because when we pass away, we're going to leave our spouse a single widow? And in this country, we actually penalize single widows by making them pay more taxes. No, we want to plan ahead and look through the windshield and start shifting our clients' assets to more tax-free investments like HSAs and Roth IRAs and municipal bonds and life insurance, tax-free assets that grow tax-free.
I love that. You were talking about driving in the rearview mirror. I got to tell you just a quick story. When I was little, I would take a mirror and put it up to the ceiling and walk around my house. And it was such a cool, different view. It was the ceiling. And then I would get to like a hallway and I'd literally, my brain would think it had to step over the doorway. It was so funny. Anyway.
Eyes in the back of your head.
Yeah. But back to what I really want to talk about. You mentioned that the tax law is going to change here in 2025. So tell us some specific changes we could consider right now to help reduce the impact of taxes.
Well, one way to start getting prepared for that tax sale that's going to end sooner than later is I want you to start visualizing your money in a 4-color pie chart. So you got 401ks and IRAs and TSPs. Visualizes those as blue on this tax pie chart. So if you have money in a 401k, an IRA, or TSP, visualize that as blue and think about all of your money, how much of it is in IRAs and 401ks. Okay. Then think of your assets that are tax-free. Maybe you have a small Roth IRA as green. And then think about real estate and annuities and stocks that when you sell them, you're going to have to pay taxes when you sell them. We call those non-qualified or capital gains. Think of those as purple. And then the last one is cash equivalents, things like CDs and brokerage accounts. We call those taxable accounts. Think of them as red. Now, how much of your money today is green that's never been taxed today? Oftentimes, when I sit with families, they have so much blue. They have just a little bit of green, maybe a lot of red in taxable accounts like brokerage accounts and CDs and money markets, but they have very little green. And so I want to encourage you, if you don't want to be at the mercy of what tax rates are in the future, you need to increase that big slice of that small slice of green and make it a big slice of green. And how do we do that? We max fund HSAs, those Roth IRAs, maybe a Roth TSP or a Roth 401k. We look at life insurance to increase that green slice.
Love this visualization. I even took notes because I want to do this, figure out my pie chart, my color pie chart of our finances. But give us some other things we could do, some other changes we could make for taxes in the future.
Well, I mean, one of the easiest things you can do is type into Google 2022 tax brackets. And then in another tab, pull up 2015 tax brackets and then compare the two. That is a fascinating study. Today, if you make $83,000, you're taxed at 12%. So up to $83,000, you're taxed at 12% as a married filing couple. So if you're married, first $83,000 is taxed at 12%. But here's what's fascinating, Luann, and hopefully someone's got a pen and paper. If you make up to $170,000, you're taxed at 22%. But anything after that 170, all the way up to $340,000 is taxed at 24%. That's the current taxes that you're paying right now. But wait, it gets worse. In 2015, it was not 12%. That bracket was 15%. So if we go back to 2015, most likely it'll be the first $83,000 will not be taxed at 12, but at 15. And wait, it gets worse. At 150 back in 2015, it was not taxed at 22 or 24. The first 150,000 was taxed at 25%. So if you got lost in all that, all I'm trying to tell you is 15 is more than 12, and 25 is more than 22 and 24. You need to have an IRA exit strategy in place of unwinding your TSP and IRA and 401k into more tax-free investments, i.e. like a Roth IRA. And that's why we work with CPAs and our clients, tax preparer, to make sure that we talk about things like Roth conversions and qualified charitable distributions to the church, because there's action that can be done before this tax sale ends. So if you're listening, you say, that's me, Andrew. I got a lot of money in that blue chart where all my money's in 401ks and IRAs, and I don't want to be at the mercy of tax rates in the future. Give us a call at 1-800-848-8768.